I'm invited to dinner at a friend's place tonight. And guess what else? I'm invited to cook it and bring it. So I need food that really transports well. Pork florentine, a roast of pork with spinach rolled up right into it, celeriac remoulade, a julienne of celeriac in a grainy mustard mayonnaise, honey fleur-de-lis, my favorite cookie on earth, carrot and carrot juice soup, and toasted almonds with spices and rosemary. Just right for soup, and perfect for cookies. A veritable movable feast.
Seeing the signs again. Come over, and we'll meet again. Da da da, da 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 da.
A movable feast, and I plan to make it very easy on myself because it can be tricky. You'd think a roast of pork would be difficult, but the great thing about it is that it doesn't have to be hot when you serve it. And this one with spinach rolled into it looks fantastic, and it's kind of like the side dish and the main course all rolled into one. I'm going to make my stuffing first. Spinach stuffing. Wilt. Bacon. Adding a judicious 2 slices to my roast. Cutting this into little lardons, and make them quite small because it's going to be in stuffing. You don't want the big chunks of it. So keep an eye on this too. How this just sort of cooks down. Looks like a lot, but it won't be. Once the spinach has wilted, take it right out into a tea towel. There's nothing to drain here, but I am going to give it a little squeeze so it doesn't have excess water in it. A little oil. You can just use the same pan. It has a bit of spinach in it. Whoop-de-doo, it's going to have more. Here goes bacon. Okay, once the bacon is cooked, you don't want it too crisp, just done. Leave the fat behind, as always. And just get this off into a bowl. Now the onion is approaching soft. Add the garlic. Actually, I don't need to cook this anymore. I'm just going to chuck it in with the bacon. Now I'm adding about 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs here, just as binding. And a little salt and pepper, although the bacon's quite salty, so I don't want to overdo it. And the onion and all this goes into the spinaci. Mix that all together. See how nice that looks? And now imagine it spiraling through pork. Got a nice little roast. Maybe I'll do this. I have some room. Beautiful pork roast. I'm just going to pat it dry. Now, how am I going to roll that, you wonder? Or perhaps you didn't. I had it all figured out. Well, here is how. You cut through about 3/4 of the way right down the middle, and then cut each side through the middle the same way. Now, I'm going to pound it. So, season the meat. Then lay out string at even intervals and set the pork on it. See that nice lane of fat down the back of it? There, now, let's take this whole thing, I think. I'm just going to brown the meat on all sides and then just put the whole thing in the oven to finish. Let it get brown on the edges. That's about 1/2 cup of wine. There, it needs about 40 minutes. Delicious. Very savory, and the stuffing goes with it just perfectly. What will be perfect with this is celeriac remoulade and grainy mustard mayonnaise. I'm making a portable dinner. Have a great rolled spinach pork roast, which, by the way, slices very neatly when it's cooled off a bit. And next I'm making a salad. Celeriac rather than lettuce. You can eat it right alongside the pork. Now I know a celeriac bulb doesn't look very promising because it's quite a rustic looking root, but it tastes great. It's got kind of it tastes like celery, but not with that crisp green celery. It tastes like a more mellow, mature celery. It's actually a little milder too. You do have to take the skin off because it's quite tough and brown. So, thin slices. So it should be quite thin, matchstick-like. Since I'm having pork, I think I'll add une pomme. Nice with celeriac, nice with pork. Just grab an apple, whatever's around for eating. More matchsticks. And because white things have a tendency to color, I think I'll just add a squeeze of lemon. Add a bit of toss. Ta-da-ta. Now, the dressing, you just need the yolk. You want lots of Dijon mustard. Moutarde à l'ancienne, it's the grainy kind. You need a little drop of vinegar, like a teaspoon. It's tarragon vinegar. Salt, pepper, and then grapeseed oil, because I prefer mayonnaise with grapeseed oil to olive oil. So drop by drop at first, the usual mayonnaise routine. Then when you get it right where you want it, I'm just going to add a little more lemon juice because I like the taste of it. And then you toss it all together. You want every little strand coated. And you know what else I want? Almost forgot. Is fennel. Because fennel is also delicious with pork. They're not pulverized, they're just crushed up a bit just to release the scent. So I got side dish, main dish. Next I'm making cookies, my sister-in-law's recipe. They're my favorite cookies ever. I could eat them by the crateful. And they have in them, I got this in a shop in Paris that sells only honey and honey products. So many honeys in this shop. It's a shop with only honeys and honey products. Every kind you can imagine.
You should try French heather, which
French
is very
heather.
special. Yeah.
It's a beautiful color. Look at the color.
I like it.
It's like caramel.
Yeah.
Oh. I'd like to have a few of those for my cookies.
Yes.
Okay, bring on the buckwheat.
Okay, because
It's black like molasses.
yeah,
Oh.
and it's really smelly.
It smells very barnyardy. Oh, that's amazing. It almost tastes like cheese.
Mm.
I've never tasted anything like that in my life.
Yeah, it's really
Wow! So I'll take a lavender just for fun because I can't get it anywhere else.
special. Au revoir, madame. Bonne journée.
Oh, c'est lourd. $3.75. Because this is a European recipe, the measurements will seem a bit off, but that's because they fit with metric. So that's 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of butter, and 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons sugar. Voila, now I need 3 tablespoons of this magnificent honey, which has such a thickness to it. Now the dry ingredients, 2 cups of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. And just sift the dry ingredients in. Fleur de lis. Cookies, 12 minutes till they're nice and brown, and then they'll be really crisp once they cool. Perfect. Once they're cool, a cute little box. One for me. Little honey-like, and in 2 days, even honeyer. Next, I need a first course that travels well. I'm making carrot and carrot juice soup, ultra orange.
Laughing at everything.
Making a little soup to take. Normally I wouldn't recommend it because, well, if you're cooking for a crowd and you have to carry a big pot, it's difficult. But if you're cooking for just a few and you can put it in a jar, it's really easy. And you can usually count on people to have a pot to heat it up in. I'm taking an extra precaution and making a soup that's just as good cold. Shallot. So because this all gets pureed, no fancy chopping required, just slicing the shallot. I've actually been carrying this recipe around with me for a long time, and it's so good. More common is carrot and ginger soup or carrot and orange juice, but carrot and carrot makes an intensely carroty soup. Okay, so just melting a few tablespoons of butter. And you need carrots, of course. and carrot juice. So bright. My grandfather used to make carrot juice. He went on a big health kick in his later years. And there was a lot of juice. Once those are soft, add the carrots cut into coins. And then about 3 cups of carrot juice, pretty much enough to cover. And then don't forget salt and pepper. And then just cook them until they're really tender, which is to say slightly overcooked because they're getting pureed. And if you do al dente, it won't work. So they're really nice and soft. Okay. Since I'm in a bit of a rush, I just put a metal spoon in. It will absorb some of the heat. It smells so rich and sweetly carroty. Ah, pretty jar. If it's thin, you can always cook it down a bit. If it's too thick, just thin it out with a bit of water. Ta-da! Now just imagine that in a pretty bowl with a little chervil on top. I'm just going to leave it open to cool. And then I'll shut it. And I think I'm going to just serve it cold. And make life easy. None of this reheating business. Now I just need a little appetizer. I'm making toasted almonds with spices and rosemary. It's not every day that you cook dinner for a friend and deliver it to their door by a bicycle, but sometimes people need cheering up. And just imagine how you'd feel if one time one of your friends just showed up with dinner in her arms. These will be for aperitifs, toasted almonds with spices and rosemary. I have the oven at 400 and I'm using, say, a cup of nuts. And I know sometimes I toast things in frying pans on the stove, pine nuts and things I'm going to toss quickly into a salad. But when you're, is it toasting or roasting? Really, in the oven, they get more evenly browned. And if you do them in a pan, they just sort of are tacked on the surface. And I want these really nutty, tasting, and toasty all the way through. They only need about 10 minutes. Because this friend happens to need a little pick-me-up, I can make a little card quickly. Oh look, sometimes I have little things that are good gifts, and this is just a nice little book for writing thoughts in. You don't want them too dark, but you want to smell them when they come out, and they're a bit, just oddly enough, puffed up and nice and toasty. I love the piney scent of rosemary. Reminds me of walks in the woods. So here's how it goes. It's all very fast once the nuts are toasted. You need a couple of teaspoons of olive oil. Then cumin, a teaspoon. Paprika for a little fiery heat. Teaspoon of that too. Just heat the spices for a few seconds. And then about 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. And now the rosemary and the nuts. They just need coating. So the oil just helps all the spices stick. They've had a bit of time to toast. And salt. Nice. And then just spill them out back on their sheet and let them cool down before you put them in a jar. I have a bright and flavorful carrot and carrot juice soup. For a main course, pork florentine, a pork roast with spinach spiraled in it. That's served with celeriac remoulade, with apple and grainy mustard mayonnaise. For dessert, honey fleur de lis, my favorite cookies. And for aperitifs, toasted nuts with spices and rosemary. Portable happiness on a gloomy day.